Did you just put your hands on me? The question hung in the air of the dining room, and I watched Vincent Castellano's face turn from shock to fury in less than a heartbeat. His cheek was still red from where my palm had connected, and the entire restaurant had gone silent. Crystal glasses stopped clinking. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the kitchen seemed to hold its breath. My name is Jordan Hayes, and that slap just destroyed 3 months of undercover work in approximately 2 seconds. But before I tell you how a government operative ended up challenging a mafia boss to a fistfight in the middle of an upscale Italian restaurant, let me ask you something. How are you doing today? Wherever you're watching this from, I hope you're comfortable because this story gets intense. What's the weather like where you are? Me, I'm looking back on a night that changed everything I thought I knew about justice, loyalty, and which side of the law actually deserves protecting. Here's what they don't tell you about karma. Sometimes the universe doesn't just balance the scales. Sometimes it throws the entire scale out the window and starts over from scratch. This is the story of how I went from being the agency's golden girl, their best field operative since my husband died, to becoming something I never imagined. Something that made my superiors wish they'd never trained me so well. If this story hits home for you, do me a favor and like this video. Subscribe if you want to hear more. Share it with someone who needs to understand that sometimes the real criminals are wearing badges. Drop a comment and tell me if you've ever had your entire worldview shattered in a single night. But let me start from the beginning. 3 months earlier, I'd walked into Romano's with a fake resume, a perfectly crafted cover story, and one objective: get close enough to Vincent Castellano to document his criminal operations and bring him down. The agency had been tracking him for 2 years. Drug trafficking, money laundering, extortion, murder. The man was everything I'd been trained to stop. And I was perfect for the job. At 29 years old, I'd already completed 17 successful undercover operations. My record was flawless. My instincts were sharp. My cover identities were bulletproof. The agency called me their best asset. Some of the older operatives said I reminded them of my late husband, David. That I had his gift for reading people, his calm under pressure, his absolute commitment to the mission. David had died 3 years ago during an operation that went wrong. Ambushed. Outnumbered. Gone before backup could arrive. They gave me his medal. They gave me 3 weeks of grief counseling. Then they gave me another assignment. Because that's what you do when you believe you're one of the good guys. You keep fighting. I threw myself into the work. It was easier than going home to an empty apartment. Easier than looking at wedding photos. Easier than admitting that the man I loved had died for a cause I believed in with my whole heart. So when they briefed me on Vincent Castellano, I studied every file, memorized every associate, learned his patterns, his preferences, his favorite table at Romano's where he conducted business every Thursday night. I learned to make his preferred cocktail, learned which servers he liked, which ones he ignored, which ones he'd had fired for the smallest infractions. I became Jordan Reeves, 26-year-old waitress with a struggling art career and student loans. No family.
No connections.
Nobody who would ask questions. I was exactly the kind of invisible person who could get close. And for 3 months, it worked. I served him drinks, smiled at his jokes, stayed professional when his associates made inappropriate comments. I planted listening devices in the private dining room, photographed documents left on tables, recorded conversations, built a case brick by brick. Vincent Castellano was everything the files said he was: cold, calculating, dangerous. He ran his criminal empire with the efficiency of a Fortune 500 CEO and the ruthlessness of a warlord. People feared him. Politicians took his money. Judges ruled in his favor. He was untouchable. Until tonight. Tonight started like any other Thursday. Vincent arrived at 8 with 4 of his men. They took the private dining room in the back. I wasn't assigned to their section, thank God, because maintaining cover while watching criminal conspiracy unfold across appetizers and wine never got easier. But I watched. Always watching. Lisa Martinez was serving them. She'd been at Romano's for 5 years. Single mother of 2. Worked double shifts to keep her kids in a decent school district. She was kind to me when I started, showed me the ropes, covered for me when I needed to slip away to check my surveillance equipment. She was my friend. Real friend. Not cover story friend. And that made what happened next so much worse. I was refilling water glasses in the main dining room when I heard the crash. The sound of breaking ceramic. Then Vincent's voice, loud enough to cut through the ambient noise. Are you stupid or just incompetent? Every instinct I had screamed at me to stay out of it. Maintain cover. Don't draw attention. Let it play out. But I looked toward the private dining room and saw Lisa standing there, frozen, a shattered plate at her feet and red wine spreading across Vincent's custom suit. I'm so sorry, Mr. Castellano, Lisa said, her voice shaking. It was an accident. Let me get something to clean that up. An accident? Vincent stood up, and even from across the room, I could see the rage in his eyes. Do you have any idea how much the suit costs? More than you make in a year, you clumsy idiot. The restaurant manager, Paul, rushed over. Sir, please, we'll cover the dry cleaning. Lisa, go to the back. But Vincent wasn't interested in reasonable solutions. I'd seen this before in the surveillance footage. He didn't just want compliance. He wanted domination. Fear. He wanted everyone to remember what happened when you displeased him. She's not going anywhere, Vincent said coldly. Not until she understands the consequences of incompetence. I should have stayed back. Should have trusted Paul to handle it. Should have remembered that I was there to build a case, not play hero. But Lisa was crying now, apologizing over and over, and Vincent just kept berating her. His men were laughing. Other diners were watching, doing nothing. And all I could think about was every time I'd stood by and watched injustice happen because the mission came first.
You walked over?
Mr. Castellano, I said, keeping my voice level and professional. It was an accident. Lisa's one of our best servers. Please, let us make this right. Vincent turned those cold eyes on me. And who the hell are you?
I'm Jordan.
I work here. Sir, we'll comp your entire meal, cover all cleaning costs, whatever you need. But please, Lisa didn't mean any disrespect. I don't care what she meant, Vincent said. He picked up his champagne glass, still half full, and looked at Lisa. You want to spill drinks? Let me show you how it feels. He threw the champagne in her face. Lisa gasped, champagne dripping from her hair, her uniform soaked. She just stood there, humiliated, while Vincent's men laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. And I stopped thinking like an operative. My hand moved before my brain could stop it. The slap echoed through the restaurant like a gunshot. Vincent's head snapped to the side. The laughter died instantly. And when he turned back to me, I saw murder in his eyes. Did you just put your hands on me? He asked quietly. Dangerously. 3 months of work. 3 months of cover. 3 months of building a case that could finally put him away. All of it gone because I couldn't watch a good person get humiliated by a bully with power. You deserved it, I said. Vincent's hand came up fast, aiming for my face. But here's the thing about muscle memory. You can't fake it, and you can't hide it. 3 years of combat training, 4 years of tactical operations, countless hours in the gym and the shooting range. My body reacted before my cover story could. I ducked.
Smooth. Clean.
Professional. His hand sailed over my head, and he stumbled forward, off balance. The look on his face would have been funny if I wasn't currently destroying my entire operation.
Shock.
Confusion. Then rage. Someone in the crowd laughed. That's all it took. Vincent Castellano, crime boss, feared by everyone in the city, had just been made to look like a fool by a waitress. He straightened up, and I saw something shift in his expression. This wasn't about Lisa anymore. This wasn't even about the suit. This was about pride.
Power.
Reputation. You think you're tough? He asked, voice low and deadly. You think because you can dodge one swing, you can challenge me? I'm not challenging anyone, I said, trying to salvage something from this disaster. I just think you should leave Lisa alone. Let's fight then. Vincent shrugged off his wine-stained jacket. Right here.
Right now. You and me.
Let's see how brave you are when it's a fair fight. The smart play was to back down, apologize, run to the bathroom, and call my handler for extraction. But Vincent was already rolling up his sleeves, and his men were clearing space, pushing tables aside. The other diners were pulling out phones, excited for the show. And somewhere in my head, beneath the training and the mission parameters and the careful construction of Jordan Reeves the waitress, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years.
Alive.
Okay, I heard myself say, let's fight now. That's when everything changed. The thing about fighting a mafia boss in front of 50 witnesses with cameras is that you can't really hide who you are anymore. Vincent came at me with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a fight that mattered. His first punch was strong, direct, aimed at my jaw. I sidestepped, redirected his momentum, and watched him stumble into a table. The crowd gasped. His men stopped smiling. He recovered quickly. Credit where it's due. Vincent Castellano didn't get to run half the city by being soft. He came at me again, faster this time, combining punches with better footwork. But I'd trained with special forces instructors. I'd sparred with operators who made violence into an art form. David used to joke that I fought like I was dancing, always 3 moves ahead. I blocked,
Countered.
kept my breathing steady, didn't use more force than necessary because the last thing I needed was to seriously hurt him and face assault charges that would blow my cover even wider. But after the 3rd time I put him on the ground, something changed in Vincent's eyes. The anger faded. He looked at me differently, calculating, curious. Where did a waitress learn to fight like that? He asked, breathing hard, wiping blood from his split lip. I'd gone too far to lie now. I took some self-defense classes. Self-defense classes. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Lady, I've fought professionals who couldn't move like you just moved. Who are you really? Before I could answer, Paul the manager finally found his spine. That's enough.
Both of you out.
You're both fired, and Mr. Castellano, you're banned from this establishment. Vincent's men moved forward, hands going to concealed weapons, but Vincent held up a hand to stop them. He kept his eyes on me the entire time. What's your full name? Jordan Reeves. Jordan Reeves. He said it slowly, like he was memorizing it. I'm going to find out everything about you. Everything. And when I do, we're going to have a much longer conversation. He left. His men followed. The crowd started talking all at once, phones still recording, probably already uploading to social media. I'd just become viral content in the worst possible way. Lisa grabbed my arm. Jordan, oh my God, are you okay? I can't believe you did that for me. Are you okay? I asked. Did he hurt you? Just my pride. She was still wiping champagne from her face. But you just lost your job because of me. And you made an enemy of Vincent Castellano. Do you know who he is? I knew exactly who he was. And I knew that in approximately 20 minutes, my handler was going to be screaming through my phone about operational security and blown covers and career-ending decisions. I was right. 19 minutes, actually. I was in my car, hands shaking from adrenaline, when my phone buzzed. Not my real phone. The encrypted one hidden in my apartment. But I'd linked it to forward emergencies to my cover phone, and this definitely qualified. Hayes, what the hell did you just do? Director Patricia Morrison's voice could cut glass. I've got reports of a physical altercation. Tell me it's not true. I can explain. You slapped our target. In public. On camera. Then you engaged in hand-to-hand combat demonstrating training that no waitress should have. Please explain to me how this doesn't constitute the single worst operational failure of your career. I sat in my car in the parking lot behind my apartment building and tried to find words. He humiliated my coworker. Threw champagne in her face. I reacted. You reacted. Patricia's silence was worse than her anger. Jordan, you're our best operative. You've never let emotion compromise a mission. Never. What happened? What happened? I'd watched a good person get treated like garbage by someone who thought power made him untouchable. I'd watched a room full of people do nothing. And for just a moment, I'd stopped being Special Agent Jordan Hayes, and I'd been someone who gave a damn about something other than the mission. It won't happen again, I said. You're right, it won't. Because you're being pulled. Effective immediately. 3 months of surveillance, all the evidence you gathered, completely useless now because Castellano knows something's wrong.
He's going to investigate you, Jordan.
He's going to find holes in your cover. And when he does, he's going to know we're coming for him. So, let him investigate. Jordan Reeves is solid. I built that identity myself. There's nothing to find. There's always something to find if someone looks hard enough. Pack up. Extraction team will be at your apartment in 2 hours. We'll debrief and figure out damage control. She hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling the weight of failure settle over me. 3 months. Wasted. All because I couldn't watch someone suffer without doing something about it. My real phone buzzed. Lisa, texting to make sure I was okay, to apologize for getting me fired, to thank me for standing up for her. I texted back that it wasn't her fault, that I'd be fine, that she should get home to her kids. Then I drove to my apartment, a modest one-bedroom in a neighborhood that matched Jordan Reeves' financial situation. I had 2 hours to pack up my life here. 2 hours to erase another identity and move on to the next mission. Except when I opened my apartment door, someone was already inside. My hand went to the gun I kept hidden in my purse. Training took over. I cleared the apartment room by room, weapon ready, breathing controlled. Living room clear. Kitchen clear. Bathroom clear. Bedroom clear. But someone had definitely been here. My surveillance equipment was still hidden, but small things were different. A book moved slightly on the shelf. The closet door opened an inch when I always kept it closed. Someone had searched this place professionally. My encrypted phone buzzed again. Not Patricia this time. Unknown number. The text message was simple. Impressive performance tonight. We should talk. Alone. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Riverside Park, South Entrance. Come alone or don't come at all. VC. Vincent Castellano had my number. My supposedly secure, unlisted, cover identity number. And he'd been in my apartment. I called Patricia back immediately. We have a bigger problem. How much bigger?
He found my address.
He's been inside my apartment. And he wants to meet. The silence on the other end lasted too long. When Patricia finally spoke, her voice had changed. Less angry. More calculating. Did he take anything? Not that I can tell. But he was definitely here. Interesting. Okay, change of plans. Don't pack. Stay in character. If Castellano wants to meet, we're going to let him make the first move. Maybe this isn't a complete disaster. Maybe we can still salvage something. You want me to meet with him? Alone? Of course not alone. We'll have a team watching.
But Jordan, this is an opportunity. He's curious about you. Intrigued. We can work with that.
We can turn this around. I looked around my violated apartment and felt something twist in my stomach. And if he's setting a trap, then we spring it first. Get some rest. We'll have a full tactical briefing in the morning.
And Jordan?
Don't feel too bad about tonight. That video of you dropping Castellano is already trending. The man's ego must be shattered. Angry people make mistakes. Maybe you just gave us the opening we needed. She hung up again, and I was left alone in an apartment that no longer felt safe. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark with my gun on the coffee table and watched the street below, waiting for Vincent's men to come back. Waiting for retaliation. Waiting for consequences. But nothing happened. The night passed quietly. Too quietly. At dawn, I finally checked social media on my cover phone.
Patricia was right.
The video was everywhere. Different angles from different phones, all showing the same thing. Me, dropping a known crime boss 3 times in under 2 minutes. The comments were brutal, mocking Vincent, praising me, speculating about who I really was. One comment thread caught my attention. Someone had done a reverse image search on screenshots from the video. They'd found nothing. Jordan Reeves didn't exist online before 8 months ago. No social media history. No digital footprint. For someone my age, that was suspicious. People were already asking questions. I took a shower, changed clothes, and headed to the safe house where Patricia wanted to brief me. It was a nondescript office building downtown, the kind of place that could be anything. Inside, Patricia waited with 3 other agents I recognized from previous operations. Jordan, glad you could make it. Patricia gestured to a chair. Let's talk about how we're going to handle Castellano. But as I sat down and looked at the faces around the table, I felt something I'd never felt before in an agency briefing.
Doubt.
Suspicion. The way Patricia had handled last night, the sudden change from extraction to continued operation, the ease with which Vincent had found my supposedly secure information. How did he get my number? I asked.
We're investigating that.
Could be he has contacts in the phone company. Could be he used facial recognition software on the video and got lucky. Could be a dozen things. Why? Because Jordan Reeves' number is supposed to be bulletproof. That's what you told me when you set up the identity. Untraceable. Secure. Patricia exchanged a glance with one of the other agents. Nothing's completely secure if someone has enough resources. Castellano has resources. But that's not what we should be focusing on right now. The question is, how do we use his interest in you to our advantage? You want me to get closer to him. I want you to let him think he's getting closer to you. Let him investigate. Let him find exactly what we want him to find. We'll feed him information that makes you interesting but not suspicious. A troubled past. Some sealed juvenile records we'll create. A backstory that explains the fighting skills without revealing your real training. We'll make you exactly the kind of person Vincent Castellano would want to recruit. You want him to recruit me into his organization. It's a faster track than serving him drinks for 6 more months. He's already interested. Already invested in figuring you out. We use that. You get inside his inner circle, his real operations, not just the Thursday night dinner meetings. This could be the break we've been waiting for. It made sense. Operationally, it made perfect sense. But something felt wrong. Something I couldn't quite name. And the meeting this afternoon? You go. Wired. With a tracking device. Full surveillance team within response distance. You listen to what he has to say. You play it cool. You see what he wants. Then we decide next steps based on his approach. I nodded slowly. Okay. But I want full tactical support. If this goes bad, I want extraction ready immediately. Of course. Patricia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Jordan, I know last night scared you, but you're the best we have. If anyone can turn this around, it's you. Your husband would be proud of how you're handling this. The mention of David felt like a slap. Patricia had never brought him up before. Never used him as motivation or manipulation. The fact that she was doing it now made the doubt in my gut grow stronger. But I pushed it down. I had a job to do. A mission to complete. And maybe, just maybe, I could still make this right. At 1:45 p.m., I arrived at Riverside Park. The south entrance opened onto a walking path that followed the water, popular with joggers and families. Public enough to feel safe. Private enough for a conversation. I wore jeans and a jacket that hid the wire taped to my ribs. The tracking device was in my shoe. My backup gun was in an ankle holster. I looked like Jordan Reeves, Waitress, maybe a little nervous about meeting a dangerous man. I didn't look like Special Agent Jordan Hayes, walking into what might be the most important conversation of her career. Vincent was already there, sitting on a bench, facing the water. He wore casual clothes, expensive but understated. No visible bodyguards, though I knew they had to be nearby. He didn't turn around when I approached, just kept staring at the river. You came, he said. You broke into my apartment. Seemed rude not to.
He smiled at that. Seat.
Please. I promise I won't try to hit you again. My pride couldn't take another public beating. I sat, keeping distance between us, keeping my hands free. What do you want, Mr. Castellano? Call me Vincent. And I want to know who you really are, Jordan Reeves. If that's even your real name. It's my real name. Is it? He finally turned to look at me, and I saw intelligence in those eyes that the files hadn't fully captured. Because I've had people looking into you all night. Good people. The kind who can find anything about anyone. And you know what they found? Almost nothing. Jordan Reeves exists on paper. You have a social security number, a driver's license, a credit history going back exactly 8 months. Before that, nothing. Like you didn't exist until you needed to get a job at Romano's. My heart rate increased, but I kept my expression neutral. I had some trouble in my past. I started over. New city. New life. That's not a crime. No, it's not. But the way you fight? That's not self-defense classes from a strip mall dojo. That's military training. Special forces, maybe. The way you moved, the way you anticipated my strikes, the discipline in not seriously hurting me when you clearly could have. That's professional. You're imagining things.
Am I?
He leaned back, studying me.
Here's what I think.
I think you're either a cop, which would be disappointing, because cops can't fight like you fought. Or you're something more interesting. Federal agent, maybe. Undercover. Send to get close to me, gather evidence, build a case. In my ear, Patricia's voice came through the hidden receiver. Stay calm. Deny everything. Stick to your story. That's quite an imagination you have, I said. I'm a waitress who took some martial arts classes because I lived in a bad neighborhood.
You attacked me.
I defended myself. That's it. Prove it. Prove what? That you're just a waitress.
Come work for me.
I blinked. Excuse me? I need someone with your skills. Someone who can handle themselves in a difficult situation. Someone smart enough to stay calm under pressure. You demonstrated all of that last night. So come work for me. I'll pay you 5 times what Romano's was paying. All you have to do is exactly what you were already doing. Be observant. Be discreet. And occasionally, protect my interests. In my ear, say no. This is moving too fast. We need to control the approach. But I looked at Vincent Castellano and saw opportunity. Everything Patricia had wanted, handed to me on a silver platter. A way inside his organization. A way to complete the mission. What kind of work are we talking about? I asked. The kind where you don't ask too many questions. The kind where loyalty matters more than legality. The kind where you'll see things that might bother someone with a conscience. He paused. But something tells me you've already seen plenty that bothered your conscience. And you're still here. He wasn't wrong. 3 years of operations. 3 years of watching bad things happen to build cases against bad people. 3 years of sacrificing small justices for the promise of bigger ones. I need to think about it, I said. Fair enough. But Jordan, while you're thinking, you should know something. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. Someone in your life isn't who you think they are. Someone close to you is lying. And when you figure out who, you're going to wish you'd taken my offer sooner. He walked away, leaving me on that bench, with questions multiplying in my head. In my ear, Patricia's voice. Good work. Come in for debrief. We'll analyze everything he said and plan the next approach. But I stayed on that bench for a long time after Vincent left, watching the river, replaying his words. Someone close to you is lying. It could have been a manipulation tactic, a way to make me paranoid, to isolate me from my support system. That's what the training said. Don't trust what targets tell you. They're trying to get in your head. But something about the way he'd said it. The certainty. The almost sympathetic tone. I pulled out my phone and did something I'd never done before on an operation. I started investigating my own agency. The secure database required 3 levels of clearance to access. I had 2 of them legitimately. The third I borrowed from David's old credentials that somehow still worked in the system 3 years after his death. That should have been my first red flag. I sat in my apartment that night with my laptop, protected by VPNs and encryption software I'd learned to use during previous operations. The agency trained us to dig into criminal networks, to follow money trails, and expose corruption. They just never expected us to turn those skills on them. I started with my own file. Every agent has one. Performance reviews, mission reports, psychological evaluations. Standard stuff. Mine looked normal. Excellent ratings across the board. Commendations. A note about my husband's death and the mandatory grief counseling that followed. But then I found something strange. A secondary file, buried deeper, with higher clearance requirements. A file labeled Asset Management. Hayes, J. Asset Management. Like I was a piece of equipment, not a person. I opened it. The first document was dated 4 years ago, 6 months before David died. It was a psychological evaluation I'd never seen before, never knew existed. The conclusion made my blood run cold. Subject demonstrates exceptional field capabilities, but maintains rigid moral framework that may limit operational flexibility. Recommend continued assessment for potential modification protocols. Marriage to fellow operative Hayes, D, provides emotional stability, but may also reinforce resistance to morally ambiguous assignments. Monitor closely. Modification protocols. What the hell did that mean? I kept reading. The next document was dated 2 weeks after David's funeral. Subject's grief response severe, but manageable. Psychological break from loss of spouse creates opportunity for behavioral reconstruction. Subject now demonstrates increased willingness to prioritize mission objectives over personal ethical constraints. Recommend accelerated deployment to capitalize on emotional vulnerability. Asset becoming more useful. I had to read it 3 times before the words made sense. They'd used David's death. Used my grief. Turned my pain into something that made me a better tool for them. My hands were shaking. I kept going. Mission reports I'd filed. Except they weren't exactly what I'd filed. Small changes. A sentence added here. A detail modified there. Nothing dramatic. But enough to change the context. Enough to make my operations look more aggressive, more willing to bend rules, more comfortable with moral gray areas than I'd actually been. Then I found the operations list. Every mission I'd completed in 3 years. 17 successful assignments. I remembered them all. Except now, looking at the actual outcomes, I saw things I hadn't seen before. The drug dealer I'd helped put away? His conviction was overturned 6 months later on a technicality, and he immediately started working as a confidential informant. For us. The trafficking ring I'd infiltrated? Half the people arrested were released within weeks.
No explanation.
The corrupt businessman I'd gathered evidence against? He cut a deal. Started funneling money to offshore accounts that, now that I was really looking, seemed to route back to shell corporations connected to agency front operations. Pattern after pattern. Arrest after arrest that didn't stick. Evidence that disappeared. Targets who became assets. Bad guys who started working for the good guys, except maybe we weren't the good guys at all. My phone buzzed. Patricia, asking why I hadn't come in for the debrief yet. I ignored it. I pulled up David's file next. My husband. My partner. The man I'd loved. The man who died serving his country. His file was 3 times the size of mine. I started reading, and the person I discovered wasn't the David I'd known. Or maybe he was exactly the David I'd known, and I just never asked the right questions. 15 years of service.
Decorated.
Respected. And increasingly flagged for the same thing I'd been flagged for.
Excessive moral rigidity.
Resistance to operational flexibility. Declining effectiveness in morally complex scenarios. Then, 6 months before he died, a memo from Patricia Morrison herself. Hayes D. has become a liability. His refusal to participate in asset conversion protocol has created operational complications. He's begun asking questions about mission outcomes and demonstrating awareness of program discrepancies. Recommend reassignment to high-risk operation. If subject survives, reevaluate. If subject does not survive, problem resolves naturally and provides behavioral modification opportunity for spouse. I stopped breathing. High-risk operation. The ambush that killed David. The mission that went wrong. They'd sent him into it knowing he might not come back. Wanting him not to come back. And they'd used his death to break me down and build me back up into something more useful. The rage that hit me was white-hot and absolute. 3 years. 3 years of grief and guilt and throwing myself into work to honor his memory. 3 years of believing I was serving justice. And it was all a lie.
My phone rang.
Patricia, again. This time I answered. Where are you, Jordan? We need to debrief the Castellano meeting. Tell me about asset conversion protocol. My voice sounded cold even to my own ears. Silence. Long enough to confirm everything. Jordan, I don't know what you think you've found, but you need to come in right now. That's an order. You killed my husband. David died in the line of duty. He was a hero. You sent him into an ambush because he figured out what you were doing. What we're all doing. We're not taking down criminals. We're recruiting them, converting them, using them for black ops and illegal operations while we pretend to be the good guys. It's more complicated than that. Is it?
Because it seems pretty simple to me.
You've been running a criminal enterprise under the cover of law enforcement, using agents like me to identify, compromise, and flip targets so you can use them for whatever the hell you want. And anyone who figures it out, anyone who objects, they get reassigned to operations that conveniently get them killed. Jordan, you need to calm down and think about what you're saying. You're distraught. You've been under a lot of stress.
Come in.
Let's talk about this face to face. So, you can reassign me too? Send me on a mission I won't come back from? I would never do that to you. You're one of our best. But you're making dangerous assumptions based on files you don't have the clearance or the context to understand. There are things happening at levels above both of us. Things that require difficult choices for the greater good. Don't give me greater good speeches. You let my husband die. You manipulated my grief. You've been using me for 3 years. Patricia's voice hardened. I've been protecting you for 3 years. Do you have any idea how many times I've had to justify keeping you active? How many people wanted you retired after David died? I fought for you, Jordan. I believed in you. And this is how you repay that faith? By breaking into classified files and making accusations you can't prove. I can prove all of it. I have copies. I have evidence. Evidence you obtained illegally using a dead agent's credentials. Evidence that would be inadmissible in any court and would land you in prison for espionage.
Think, Jordan.
Think about what you're doing. You can't win this fight, but you can still walk away.
Come in.
We'll talk. We'll figure this out together. I hung up. My apartment suddenly felt like a cage.
They knew where I lived.
They'd be coming. I had maybe an hour, maybe less, before extraction turned into apprehension. I grabbed my go bag, the one every field agent keeps ready.
Cash.
Fake IDs. Burner phones. Weapons. I wiped my laptop, pulled the hard drive, destroyed it. Grabbed the encrypted backup drives with all the evidence I'd found. Then I did something that went against every instinct I developed in years of training. I called Vincent Castellano. He answered on the second ring. I was wondering when you'd reach out. You said someone close to me was lying. You were right. I usually am. Where are you? My apartment. But not for long.
They're coming for me.
Who's coming? The people I work for. The people who've been using both of us. Vincent, I need help. And I think you need to hear what I've found. Give me your address. I did. I shouldn't have. Every protocol said don't trust the target, don't compromise your position, don't cross that line. But the protocols were written by people who'd killed my husband and lied to me for 3 years. I'll have a car there in 10 minutes. Be ready to move fast. Why are you helping me? Because enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because you're clearly in trouble, and I'm curious why. And because Jordan, whether you believe it or not, I know what it's like to discover the people you trusted most are the ones who betrayed you.
He paused.
10 minutes. Don't make me regret this. I grabbed my bags and went to the window. The street below was still quiet, but I knew that wouldn't last. I'd burned my entire life in the span of 3 hours. My career. My identity. My belief in everything I'd been fighting for. But I'd also found the truth. And that had to count for something. A black SUV pulled up exactly 10 minutes later. Professional. Efficient. The kind of operation Vincent Castellano ran. I didn't let myself think about what I was doing, didn't let myself consider the magnitude of this choice. I just moved. Down the back stairs. Out through the alley. Into the SUV where one of Vincent's men waited, silent and watching. We pulled away from the curb just as 2 unmarked sedans turned onto my street from the opposite direction. Agency vehicles.
Coming for me.
The driver took 3 quick turns, changed vehicles twice, used counter-surveillance techniques that would have impressed my instructors. 20 minutes later, we pulled into an underground garage beneath a building I didn't recognize. Vincent was waiting by the elevator. Welcome to my world, Jordan Hayes. He said my real name deliberately. Yes, I know who you really are. I've known since last night, but we can discuss that inside. Right now, you're in danger, and despite our rocky introduction, I don't let people get killed on my watch. Not when they might have information I need. The elevator opened. He gestured for me to enter. This was it. The point of no return. I could still call Patricia.
Still try to explain.
Still attempt to salvage my career and my life within the agency. But David's face flashed in my mind. The memorial service. The folded flag they'd given me. The lies they'd told me about how he died a hero when they'd really just eliminated a problem. I stepped into the elevator. Vincent followed. The doors closed. We started moving up. I need to know something, I said. Before I tell you anything. Before I trust you with any of this. I need to know if you're going to kill me once you've heard what I have to say. He looked at me with those calculating eyes. I'm going to be honest with you, which is more than your people ever were. 3 days ago, if you'd threatened my business or my family, yes, I would have killed you without hesitation. But Jordan, you just walked away from everything you knew because you found out the truth. That takes courage. That takes principles. Those are qualities I respect. So no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to listen. And then we're going to figure out if we can help each other. Help each other do what? Burn down the people who've been using both of us. Because here's what you don't know yet. Your agency has been in my business for 2 years. Not investigating me.
Controlling me.
I've been paying protection money to federal agents for 18 months. Sharing portions of my operations with them. Letting them use my network for their own purposes. They have leverage on me. Serious leverage. The kind that keeps me trapped in a deal I never wanted to make. The elevator stopped. Doors opened onto a penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I walked in, my world completely inverted. The criminals were victims. The law enforcement were the real criminals. Everything I'd believed was backwards. Vincent poured 2 drinks, handed me one. So, here's my proposal. You tell me everything you found in those files. I tell you everything I know about your agency's operations. And together, we figure out how to take down the people who think they're untouchable. I looked at the drink. Looked at him. Looked at the choice I was making. Then I pulled out the encrypted drive with all the evidence I'd copied. Okay, I said. Let's burn it all down. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I wondered if this was exactly what Patricia had wanted all along. If I just played right into another manipulation. If this was another test, another mission, another lie wrapped in truth. But I was tired of wondering. Tired of being used. Tired of serving a system that treated people like assets to be managed. So I sat down across from a Mafia boss, and I told him everything. Outside the windows, the city glittered in the darkness, beautiful and corrupt and full of secrets. Just like everything else I'd ever believed in. Vincent didn't interrupt while I talked. He sat across from me, drink untouched, listening to everything I'd found. The files on David. The asset conversion protocol. The pattern of arrests that led to recruitment instead of prosecution. The shell corporations. The offshore accounts. Every piece of evidence that proved the agency I'd served wasn't serving justice at all. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up, walked to his window, and stared out at the city. 3 years ago, he said finally, a federal agent approached me. Not DEA. Not FBI. Something else. Something that doesn't officially exist. He had photographs of my daughter, Sophia. She was 16 then, at boarding school in Connecticut. The photographs showed her leaving school, getting coffee, meeting friends. Normal teenage things. Except the message was clear. They could get to her anytime they wanted. My stomach tightened. They threatened your daughter? They didn't have to threaten. They just had to show me they could. Then they made their offer. I keep running my operations, but I share a percentage. I move certain products for them. I provide access to my distribution network. I launder money through my legitimate businesses. And in exchange, Sophia stays safe. My family stays safe. I stay out of prison. That's extortion. That's your agency. He turned back to me. Do you know what they move through my network, Jordan? It's not drugs from some cartel they're pretending to fight. It's weapons. Military-grade equipment that gets sold to whoever pays the right price. Surveillance technology. Things that shouldn't exist outside black budget programs. They use criminals like me as a distribution system for operations they can't officially acknowledge. I thought about all the missions I'd run, all the targets I'd helped flip, all the arrests that didn't stick. How many others? That I know of? At least 15 major operations in this city alone. Drug dealers, arms merchants, trafficking networks, all of them supposedly under investigation. All of them actually under agency control. They've built a criminal empire using the very people they're supposed to be stopping. And nobody knows? The people who know either work for them or are being controlled by them. It's perfect, really. They have legal authority. They have resources. They have the cover of law enforcement. Who's going to investigate them? Who's going to believe the criminals who try to expose them? He had a point. If I went public with what I'd found, who would listen? A disgraced federal agent making wild accusations against her own agency? With evidence obtained illegally? I'd be discredited, arrested, disappeared into the system. My phone buzzed. Not my encrypted phone. My cover phone. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Jordan, this is Agent Michael Torres. Patricia's second in command. We need to talk. You're not in trouble. Patricia overreacted. Come in, and we can sort this out. Your career doesn't have to be over. I showed Vincent the message. They're trying a softer approach, he said. Good cop after Patricia played bad cop. Classic manipulation. Torres is solid. I've worked with him before. He's one of the good ones. Is he? Or is that what they want you to believe? Vincent took out his own phone, pulled up a file, handed it to me. Michael Torres. Decorated agent. 15 years of service. Also the man who personally delivered the threats about my daughter. Also the one who handles the money transfers between my operations and the agency accounts. I looked at the photographs on Vincent's phone. Torres, meeting with known criminals. Torres, accepting packages. Torres at locations that matched dates from my own mission reports. Everyone was dirty. Everyone.
My phone rang.
Torres calling now. Answer it, Vincent said. Put it on speaker. Let's hear what he has to say. I answered. Torres. Hayes, thank God. Listen, I don't know what Patricia told you, but you need to get away from Castellano right now. We know you're with him. We tracked your phone. Whatever he's told you, whatever he's promised you, it's a lie. He's trying to turn you against us. Is he? I kept my voice neutral. Because I've seen the files, Torres. I know about asset conversion. I know about David. Silence. Then, Jordan, those files are classified for a reason. There's context you don't have. National security considerations. Things bigger than any one person. Did you know? When you sent David on that last mission, did you know it was a setup? It wasn't a setup. It was a calculated risk that didn't pay off. We all loved David. His death hurt all of us. But we're in a war, Jordan. A war most people don't even know is happening. Sometimes good people die so that the mission continues. What mission? Running criminal operations? Trafficking weapons? Extorting people like Vincent Castellano? Castellano is a criminal. Whatever he's told you is designed to save himself. Don't throw away your career, your life, for someone who would kill you the second you're no longer useful to him. Vincent leaned closer to the phone. Tell her about Sofia, Torres. Tell her how you threatened a 16-year-old girl to force me to comply. Torres's voice changed, harder now. Castellano. I should have known. Jordan, listen to me very carefully. You have one chance to walk away from this. One chance to come back and explain that you were confused, emotional, that Castellano manipulated you. But if you stay with him, if you choose his side, you become a traitor. And we deal with traitors permanently. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You have 2 hours to decide. After that, every agency resource gets pointed at you. Every law enforcement contact we have starts looking for you. Every safe place you know becomes a trap.
2 hours, Jordan.
Don't make the wrong choice. He hung up. I stared at my phone, feeling the walls closing in. Torres was right about one thing. I couldn't run from the agency. They had too many resources, too much reach. I couldn't expose them because I had no proof anyone would believe. And I couldn't go back because they'd never trust me again. I was trapped. He's bluffing about the 2 hours, Vincent said. They'll come sooner. They're probably tracking this location right now. So, what do? We move. I have places they don't know about. Safe houses that aren't connected to any of my official properties. We go there, we plan, and we figure out how to fight back. He paused. But Jordan, I need to know you're committed. Because once we start this, there's no going back. They'll come after both of us with everything they have.
I am committed.
They killed David. They've been using me. They're threatening you. Someone has to stop them. Stopping them and surviving are two different things. I need you to understand that. I met his eyes. I survived 3 years of grief believing I was honoring my husband's sacrifice. I can survive whatever comes next knowing I'm actually fighting for something real. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. All right then. Let's move. We took the service elevator down to the garage. Vincent had 3 vehicles ready, different makes and models, all with clean plates. Professional paranoia. The kind that kept people alive in his line of work. We took a gray sedan, Vincent driving, me in the passenger seat with my go bag and my evidence. 2 of his men followed in another vehicle at a distance. Security, but not obvious. Where are we going? I asked. A building I own under a shell corporation that's buried under 6 other shell corporations. No connection to my name or any of my known businesses. I bought it 5 years ago specifically for situations like this. You've been planning for this? For them turning on you? I've been planning my exit since the day Torres showed me those pictures of Sofia. I knew eventually they'd want more than I could give. Or I'd become more valuable dead than alive. I've been preparing. He glanced at me. I just never expected my ally in this fight would be a federal agent. Former federal agent. Are you? Because they're not going to see it that way. In their eyes, you're still theirs. Still bound by every oath you took. Still subject to every law that applies to someone with your clearance and knowledge. They'll charge you with treason, espionage, conspiracy. They'll make you into a monster so nobody questions what they do to you. He was right. I knew he was right. But what choice did I have? We drove in silence for 20 minutes, taking random turns, doubling back, using every counter-surveillance technique I'd ever learned. The city passed by outside the window, ordinary people living ordinary lives, no idea that underneath the surface everything was rotting. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jordan Hayes. A woman's voice. Unfamiliar. Who is this? My name is Rachel Oliver. I'm an investigative journalist with the Tribune. I received an anonymous package this morning. Files. Documents. Evidence of systematic corruption within federal law enforcement agencies. The return address was your apartment. I froze. I didn't send you anything. No, but someone did. Someone who wanted this information public. Someone who knew you'd be implicated but sent it anyway. The files are authentic, Agent Hayes. I verified what I can. This is the biggest story of my career. And you're at the center of it. Vincent pulled over. Put it on speaker. I did. Ms. Oliver, Vincent said, this is Vincent Castellano. Before you publish anything, you need to understand what you're dealing with. The people in those files have unlimited resources and no oversight. If you expose them, they will destroy you. Mr. Castellano, I'd heard you might be involved. Papers rustled on her end. And yes, I understand the risk. But that's my job. Holding powerful people accountable. The public deserves to know what's being done in their name. When are you publishing? I asked. Tomorrow morning. Front page. Digital and print. I've already submitted it to my editor. There's no stopping it now. Vincent and I looked at each other. Someone had leaked the files. Someone had forced our hand. We had maybe 12 hours before everything went public and all hell broke loose. Ms. Oliver, I said, I need you to be very careful. These people will kill to keep this quiet. I appreciate the concern, Agent Hayes. But I've covered dangerous stories before. I know how to protect myself. She didn't. She had no idea.
But there was nothing I could do about it now.
After she hung up, Vincent started driving again. Someone inside the agency leaked those files. Someone who wanted this exposed but couldn't do it themselves. Or it's a setup. A way to flush us out. Make us think we have allies when we don't. Either way, we have 12 hours. After that story drops, every law enforcement agency in the country will be looking for you. Me, I'm already wanted. But you'll be fresh meat. High profile. They'll make an example of you. We reached the safe house, a nondescript apartment building in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Vincent's men cleared the building first, then signaled us in. We took the stairs to the 4th floor, entered an apartment that was furnished, but clearly unused. Temporary. Functional. A place to hide, not to live. Vincent's phone rang. He checked the screen, frowned. It's my daughter. He answered, and I watched his face go pale. Dad. Sophia's voice came through, scared and young. Dad, there are men here. At school. They say they're FBI, but they're asking about you, and they're asking about some woman named Jordan Hayes.
Dad, I'm scared.
Sophia, baby, listen to me.
Stay calm.
Stay with your friends. Don't go anywhere alone. I'm going to call your school security right now and make sure you're protected. They said if I hear from you, I should tell them. They said you're in danger. They said they're trying to help. Vincent's hand tightened on the phone. They're lying, sweetheart. Don't tell them anything. I'll have people there in 20 minutes. People you can trust. Just stay safe. Okay. Dad, I love you. I love you too, baby. He hung up and immediately made another call, rapid instructions in Italian to someone I couldn't see. When he finished, he looked at me with something close to murder in his eyes. They went after my daughter. After I cooperated. After I did everything they asked. They still went after her.
I'm sorry.
This is because of me.
No.
This is because of them. Because they think they're untouchable. Because they believe they can do whatever they want to whoever they want. He grabbed his jacket. I need to go get her. Bring her somewhere safe. That's what they want. They're using her to draw you out. I don't care. She's my daughter. I'm not leaving her exposed. Then let me help. I know their tactics. I know how they'll set up the grab. Let me come with you. We'll have a better chance together. He studied me for a long moment. Why would you risk yourself for my daughter? Because she's innocent. Because she doesn't deserve to be used as a weapon against her father. Because that's what they did to me with David, and I'm not letting them do it to anyone else. Vincent nodded slowly. Okay. But if this goes wrong, if they capture us, they'll make what they planned for us look merciful compared to what they'll actually do. I know. And you're still willing? I thought about David. About the lies. About 3 years of grief and manipulation. About Sophia, scared at her school, being used by people who saw her as nothing more than leverage. I'm willing. We left the safe house 20 minutes later, armed and ready. Vincent had called in his most trusted people, the ones who'd been with him for years, the ones who had families of their own and understood what was at stake. The drive to Connecticut took 90 minutes. We didn't talk much. We were both thinking about what we were walking into. An ambush, probably. A trap, certainly. But sometimes you walk into the trap anyway because the alternative is worse. Vincent's phone buzzed. A text from one of his men at the school. Multiple federal vehicles. At least 20 agents. They're locking down the campus. Nobody in or out. They're not here for Sophia, I said, reading the message. They're here for you. They knew you'd come. Of course they did. But they miscalculated one thing. What's that? He smiled, cold and dangerous. They think I'm just a criminal. They forget I'm also a father. And there's nothing more dangerous than a father protecting his child. We pulled up 2 blocks from the school. I could see the federal vehicles. Black SUVs. The kind I'd ridden in countless times. The kind that meant serious operations, serious people, serious consequences. There's a service entrance on the east side, Vincent said. Old maintenance tunnel that connects to the dormitory basement. School had it sealed off years ago, but I made sure it stayed accessible. For emergencies. They'll have it covered. Probably. But they'll have fewer people there than the main entrance. Better odds. We moved through the evening shadows, two people who shouldn't be allies, planning an operation against the people I used to work for. It felt surreal. It felt necessary. The service entrance was exactly where Vincent said it would be. And sure enough, two agents stood guard. I recognized one of them. Stevens. Good agent. Family man. Someone I'd worked with on 3 different operations. I can't shoot someone I know, I whispered. You don't have to shoot anyone. We just need them unconscious for 10 minutes. Vincent pulled out 2 syringes from his jacket. Fast-acting sedative. Not lethal but effective. We moved in sync, years of different training somehow compatible. I took Stevens from behind, hand over his mouth, syringe in his neck. He struggled for 3 seconds, then went limp. Vincent handled the other agent the same way. We dragged them into the bushes, took their radios, their weapons. They'll know we're here in about 5 minutes when these 2 don't check in, I said. Then we have 5 minutes to get Sophia and get out. The tunnel was dark, damp, exactly as unpleasant as I'd expected. We moved fast, Vincent leading because he knew the layout. Up through the basement. Into the dormitory. 3rd floor, room 317. Vincent knocked. Sophia. It's Dad. The door opened immediately. Sophia was 17 now, I realized. Not the 16-year-old in the photographs Torres had used. She'd grown. But she still looked young. Still looked scared. Dad. She threw herself into his arms. We have to go, baby.
Right now.
Grab your phone, and nothing else. There are agents everywhere. They're stopping anyone who tries to leave. We're not leaving through the front. That's when the alarm started. Someone had found the unconscious agents. Someone had radioed ahead. We were out of time. Move. I took point, weapon ready, leading them back toward the tunnel. We made it to the basement when the first agents appeared. 3 of them, weapons drawn. Hands up. Hayes, Castellano, don't move. I recognized the voice. Torres. He stepped into view, gun pointed at me. I gave you 2 hours, Jordan. You made your choice. She's just a kid, Torres. Let her go. This is between us. She's leverage. And right now, leverage is all I need to make both of you cooperate. He gestured to the other agents. Take them. But Vincent had been in dangerous situations longer than any of us. He moved fast, pulling Sophia behind him, firing 2 shots that hit the ceiling and sent everyone diving for cover. Run. We ran. Back through the tunnel, Torres and his people behind us, shots echoing in the confined space. I returned fire, not trying to hit anyone, just slow them down. Vincent pulled Sophia along, protecting her with his body. We burst out of the service entrance into the evening air. Vincent's men were waiting with vehicles. We piled in. Tires screamed. More gunfire. Then we were moving, speeding away from the school, from the agents, from the trap that had almost closed on us. Sophia was crying in the back seat. Vincent held her, whispering reassurances. I watched through the rear window, expecting pursuit. It came. 3 vehicles. Fast. Professional. They're not going to let us go, I said. Vincent met my eyes in the mirror. I know. And I realized this was just the beginning. We'd escalated. We'd attacked federal agents. We'd fired weapons. Even if we'd been justified, even if they were corrupt, we'd just made ourselves fugitives. There was no going back now. The chase was on, and only one side was going to survive it. The chase lasted 40 minutes. Vincent's driver knew every back road, every shortcut, every way to lose a tail in Connecticut's suburban maze. But the agency had helicopters. They had resources. They had the kind of technology that made running nearly impossible. We ended up at a truck stop off I-95, switching vehicles in a parking lot full of semis and travelers who didn't ask questions. Sophia had stopped crying, but she looked shell-shocked, sitting between her father and me in the back of a cargo van that smelled like diesel and old coffee. "Where are we going?" she asked quietly. "Somewhere safe," Vincent said. But I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. There was no safe anymore. Not for any of us. My phone buzzed. The encrypted one. A message from a number I didn't recognize, but the encryption key was agency standard. "Agent Hayes. This is Director James Whitmore. I'm Patricia Morrison's supervisor.
We need to talk.
Alone.
No Torres. No Morrison.
Just you and me. There are things happening you don't understand. Things that go beyond what you found in those files. I can offer you protection. I can offer you the truth. But only if you come in. Alone." I showed the message to Vincent. "It's a trap," he said immediately. "Maybe. Or maybe there's someone inside who actually wants to stop this. You're willing to bet your life on that?" I looked at Sophia, exhausted and scared because adults had decided to use her as a pawn. I thought about Rachel Oliver, the journalist who had maybe 12 hours left before she published a story that would make her a target. I thought about David, who'd figured out the truth and died for it. I'm willing to bet my life that not everyone in the agency is corrupt. That there has to be someone who still believes in the actual mission. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. "If you go, I can't protect you. If it's a trap, you're on your own. I know. And if they flip you, if they convince you I'm the real enemy, you'll have information about my daughter, about my safe houses, about everything. I won't tell them anything." How can I trust that? It was a fair question. We'd known each other less than 24 hours. We were allies by necessity, not by choice. By any rational measure, he shouldn't trust me at all. Because 3 years ago, my husband died protecting a lie, I said. I'm not dying for one too. And I'm not letting anyone else die, if I can help it.
Not you.
Not Sophia. Not even the people I used to work with who might still be decent underneath all this corruption. Vincent studied my face. Then he pulled out a phone, made a call, spoke quietly in Italian. When he finished, he handed me an address. "If things go wrong, if you need help, go there. Tell them I sent you. They'll get you out of the country if necessary." I'm not running to another country. You might not have a choice. I memorized the address, then replied to Whitmore's message. Where and when? The response came immediately. Penn Station. Main Terminal. Tomorrow, 6 a.m.
Come alone. I'll find you.
Tomorrow. That gave me about 8 hours to prepare. 8 hours to decide if I was walking into salvation or execution. We drove to another safe house, this one in New Jersey, a small house in a quiet neighborhood where nobody paid attention to anyone else. Vincent's men secured the perimeter while Sophia went to sleep in one of the bedrooms, finally crashing from exhaustion and fear. Vincent and I sat at the kitchen table with cold coffee and the weight of too many bad decisions. "Tell me about your husband," he said quietly. The real story, not the file version. I hadn't talked about David in months. Hadn't let myself think about him beyond the anger at how he died. But something about sitting in a stranger's kitchen at 2 a.m. with a man who should have been my enemy made the words come easier. We met at the academy. He was 3 years ahead of me, but we kept running into each other at the range at training exercises. He was good. Better than good. Natural talent combined with absolute dedication. Everyone knew he was going places. And you. I was trying to prove I belonged. Trying to show I could be just as good as any of the men. David saw that. He never treated me like I was less capable or needed protecting. He just treated me like a partner. Someone he could trust with his life. And you fell in love. Eventually. It wasn't some dramatic moment. It was 1,000 small ones. The way he'd bring me coffee when I was pulling all-nighter studying. The way he'd run training drills with me until we both collapsed. The way he looked at me like I was the strongest person he knew, even when I felt weak. I stopped, surprised by the emotion in my throat. I'd been so angry at him lately. Angry at his death. Angry that he'd left me. Angry that he'd been right about the agency, and I'd been too blind to see it. But underneath the anger was still the love. Still the loss. He sounds like a good man, Vincent said.
He was.
And they killed him for it. The file you found. The one that said he was asking questions. What kind of questions? About missions that didn't make sense. Arrests that didn't stick. Targets who disappeared into the system and came out working for us. He saw the pattern before I did. He tried to tell me, I think. But I was so committed to believing in the mission, in the agency, in the idea that we were the good guys. I didn't listen. You couldn't have known. I should have. I was his wife. His partner. I should have trusted him when he said something was wrong. I looked at Vincent. Do you know what the last thing he said to me was? The morning he left for that mission? What? He said, if anything happens to me, don't trust them. Don't believe what they tell you. Find the truth yourself. And then he kissed me and left. And I thought he was just being paranoid. Being overly cautious. I didn't know he was trying to warn me.
He was protecting you.
If you'd known what he knew, they would have sent you on a dangerous mission too.
Maybe.
Or maybe I could have helped him. Maybe together we could have exposed this 3 years ago and he'd still be alive. Vincent reached across the table, took my hand. It was the first time he'd touched me since the fight at the restaurant. His hand was warm, solid, real. You can't think like that. You can't live in the what-ifs. Trust me, I've tried. All you can do is deal with what's in front of you now. And right now you have a chance to finish what he started. To expose the people who killed him. That's not nothing. He was right. But it didn't make the guilt any lighter. Tell me about Sophia, I said, changing the subject. Her mother? Died when Sophia was 8. Cancer. Fast and brutal. I tried to be both parents after that. Tried to keep her away from my business, from the violence, from all of it. Sent her to the best schools. Made sure she had a normal life. And then Torres showed up with those pictures and reminded me that nothing I do can really protect her. Not when powerful people want leverage. She seems like a good kid.
Smart.
Brave. She's better than I deserve. Better than anything I've built or done. Sometimes I think about what her life would have been like if I'd been a different man. Made different choices. But then I remember that my choices, my business, that's what paid for her schools. Her opportunities. Her future. I'm a criminal, Jordan. I don't pretend to be anything else. But I'm a criminal who loves his daughter more than anything in this world. And I'll burn down everyone who threatens her. There was something in his voice. A certainty. A commitment that matched what I'd felt in my own career. We were on opposite sides legally, but maybe not morally. Maybe that line was blurrier than I'd ever wanted to admit. What happens after tomorrow? I asked. If I meet with Whitmore, and it's not a trap. If there's actually a way to stop this. What happens to you? I disappear. Take Sophia somewhere they can't find us. Start over. I've been preparing for years. I have money they don't know about. Identities they can't trace. We'll be okay. And if I don't come back from that meeting, then I do what I should have done 2 years ago.
I go to war with them. Full scale.
I expose everything I know. I use every criminal contact I have to make their lives hell. I become the monster they always said I was. We sat in silence for a while, both of us thinking about tomorrow. About choices and consequences. About the fact that we'd somehow become each other's only allies in a fight against people with unlimited power. I should try to sleep, I said finally. Big day tomorrow. Jordan. He stopped me as I stood up. Whatever happens, whatever you decide, I want you to know something. You're not like them. Morrison, Torres, the others. You still have a conscience. Don't let them take that from you. Don't let this turn you into someone your husband wouldn't recognize. It was maybe the kindest thing anyone had said to me in 3 years. I went to the bedroom they'd set up for me, lay down fully clothed with my gun under the pillow, and stared at the ceiling. Sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept racing through scenarios. What if Whitmore was genuine? What if he wasn't? What if I was making a mistake either way? At 4 a.m., I gave up trying to sleep. I checked my weapons, reviewed the meeting location, planned exit routes. Professional habits from years of field work. Except this time I was planning an operation against my own people. Vincent was already awake, sitting in the dark living room with a cup of coffee. Couldn't sleep either? I asked. Haven't really slept since Torres first contacted me. Hard to relax when you know everything you love could be taken away at any moment. I poured my own coffee, sat next to him. Can I ask you something? And I need you to be honest. Okay. Have you killed people? I mean, personally, not ordered it, but actually pulled the trigger yourself. He was quiet for a long moment. Yes. How many? Does it matter? It matters to me, because I'm about to walk into a meeting that could determine whether I spend the rest of my life as a fugitive with you. I need to know who I'm aligning myself with. 3, he said finally. 3 people. All of them men who tried to kill me first. All of them situations where it was my life or theirs. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not going to lie and say I regret surviving. Did any of them have families? Probably. I don't know. I didn't ask.
He looked at me.
Is that what you need to hear? That I'm a monster? That I'm exactly what your file said I was?
No.
I need to hear the truth. Because the agency taught me that people like you are inherently evil. That criminals don't have codes or honor or anything resembling morality. But sitting here, talking to you, watching you with your daughter, I'm starting to think they lied about that too. I'm not a good person, Jordan. I break laws. I profit from things that hurt people. I've made choices I can't take back. But I've also kept my word.
Paid my debts.
Protected the people who work for me. There's a code in my world. It's not the same as yours, but it exists. And the agency? The people I worked for? They don't even have that. They just have power and the willingness to use it. Welcome to the real world. It's uglier than they tell you in training. At 5 a.m., Vincent's driver took me to Penn Station. The city was just starting to wake up. Morning commuters, delivery trucks, the everyday machinery of a world that had no idea what was happening in the shadows. Vincent had offered to have people nearby hidden backup in case things went wrong. I told him no. If Whitmore was legitimate, showing up with criminal support would destroy any chance at trust. If he wasn't, backup wouldn't save me anyway. I arrived at Penn Station at 5:45. The main terminal was already busy with early trains and travelers. I bought a coffee I didn't want, found a bench with good sight lines and waited. At exactly 6 a.m., a man in a gray suit approached. Late 50s. Distinguished. The kind of face you'd trust in a courtroom or a boardroom. Director James Whitmore. I'd seen his picture in agency directories, but never met him personally. He was several levels above my clearance. Agent Hayes. Thank you for coming. I'm not sure I'm an agent anymore. That's what we need to discuss. Walk with me. He started moving through the terminal, not fast, not slow, just purposeful. I followed, scanning for backup, for traps, for anything that felt wrong. I've been with the agency for 32 years, Whitmore said as we walked. I've seen administrations change, priorities shift, missions evolve. But about 5 years ago, something changed fundamentally. A program started that I wasn't briefed on. Asset Conversion Protocol. At first, I thought it was just aggressive recruitment of informants. Then I started noticing the patterns. Arrests that didn't prosecute. Criminals who stayed operational. Money moving through channels that shouldn't exist. So you knew. All this time, you knew what Morrison and Torres were doing. I suspected. But I couldn't prove it. They're careful. They use compartmentalization. Need to know access. Black budget funding that doesn't show up on any oversight reports. Every time I got close to evidence, it disappeared. Every agent I trusted who started asking questions got reassigned or worse. Like my husband. He stopped walking, turned to face me.
Yes.
Like David. I tried to protect him. I tried to warn him to stop digging. But he wouldn't listen. He believed in justice too much to let it go. And they killed him for it. The way he said it, with genuine regret, made me want to believe him. But I'd been fooled before. Why should I trust you? Why should I believe you're any different than Morrison or Torres? Because I'm about to commit career suicide by telling you this. Because I've spent 2 years building a case against my own agency, knowing that if I'm wrong, if I don't have enough evidence, they'll destroy me. And because your husband contacted me 3 days before he died. He sent me files, evidence, everything he'd found. I've been sitting on it, waiting for the right moment to use it. And then you slapped Vincent Castellano, and I realized the moment had arrived. My heart was pounding. What files? What evidence? Everything David discovered. Financial records. Communications between Morrison and known criminals. Proof of the asset conversion protocol. Proof of weapons trafficking, money laundering, murder for hire. Everything you need to take them down. Everything I need to clean up the agency and restore what we're supposed to be. Where is it? Safe. Encrypted. Ready to be released if I give the word. But I need your help to make it count. I need you to testify. To go on record about what you experienced. To be the face of this investigation because you're credible, you're sympathetic, and you're David Hayes' widow. The media will eat it up. The public will demand accountability. It sounded too good to be true, which usually meant it was. What's the catch? The catch is that Vincent Castellano can't be part of this. If you're working with him, if you've compromised yourself by allying with a known criminal, everything falls apart. The agency will discredit you. They'll say you went rogue, that you're working for the mob, that you can't be trusted. You have to cut ties with him.
Completely.
And you have to come back in. Officially. With protection and immunity. And what happens to Vincent? To his daughter? They get what was always going to happen. Investigation.
Arrest.
Prosecution. He's a criminal, Agent Hayes. Whatever story he's told you, whatever sympathy you feel, that doesn't change the facts. He's hurt people. He's broken laws. He deserves to face justice. The same justice system that's been protecting criminals and killing honest agents. We're going to fix that system. But we can't fix it by burning it all down and replacing it with nothing. We need to reform from inside. We need to show that the system can work when good people refuse to compromise. It was a compelling argument. Logical. Professional. Everything I'd been trained to believe. But something felt wrong. You said David contacted you 3 days before he died. That's right. What exactly did he send you? Files. Evidence. Like I said. What kind of files specifically? What format? Whitmore hesitated. Just a fraction of a second.
But I saw it.
Encrypted drives. Digital files. David didn't trust digital encryption. He always said if something was really important, you needed physical copies.
Paper.
Things that couldn't be deleted remotely. He would have sent you paper files. Whitmore's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. A calculation. A decision being made. You're right, he said. He sent paper files. I misspoke. But he hadn't misspoken. He'd lied. And if he lied about that, what else was he lying about?
I took a step back.
You don't have David's files. You're not building a case. This is another setup. Jordan, you're being paranoid. Am I? Because Morrison and Torres couldn't bring me in, so they sent you to play the good guy. To tell me exactly what I wanted to hear. That there's evidence. That David's death mattered. That I can still be one of the good guys if I just betray Vincent and come back. That's not what this is. Prove it. Show me the files David sent you. I don't have them with me. They're too sensitive to carry around. Of course they are. Whitmore's expression hardened. You're making a mistake, Hayes. Your last chance to salvage your career, your life, your freedom. And you're throwing it away for a criminal you've known for less than 2 days. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally learning to trust my instincts instead of trusting people who've been lying to me for years. I turned to walk away. He'll betray you, Whitmore called after me.
Castellano.
The moment you're no longer useful to him, he'll kill you or sell you out. That's what criminals do. That's who they are. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking, out of Penn Station, into the morning sunlight, knowing I'd just made a choice I couldn't take back.
My phone rang.
Vincent. How did it go? It was a trap. Just like you said. Are you compromised? Do we need to move? Probably. They'll be tracking me, looking for wherever I go next. Then lose them and meet me at the backup location. We'll figure out next steps. I spent 2 hours losing surveillance, subway switches, taxi changes, walking through buildings with multiple exits. All the tricks I'd learned and now used against my own people. When I finally reached the backup location, a warehouse in Brooklyn, Vincent was waiting with Sophia and 3 of his men. "So what now?" he asked. "Now we go with the original plan. Rachel Oliver publishes her story in about 4 hours. The agency panics. We use the chaos to hit them where it hurts." "And where's that?" I pulled out the encrypted drive with all the evidence I'd copied. "We find proof. Real proof. Not David's files that may or may not exist. We find the money trail, the communications, the orders. Everything that proves Morrison and Torres and everyone else involved are running criminal operations. And we hand it to every media outlet, every senator, every person who might actually care about justice. That's a suicide mission. Probably. But it's the only mission left." Vincent looked at me for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not the cold smile of the crime boss. Something warmer.
Real.
"Okay then. Let's go to war." And somewhere in my mind, I heard David's voice.
Proud. Sut.
Understanding. I was finally fighting for the truth. Even if it killed me. Even if it already had. The warehouse smelled like rust and forgotten dreams. Vincent had computers set up, the kind with serious encryption that made my agency equipment look like toys from a cereal box. His tech guy, Marco, was already pulling up financial databases, tracing money flows that would take normal investigators months to find. "Rachel Oliver's story drops in 3 hours, I said, staring at the countdown clock on one of the monitors. "Once that happens, every agency resource gets mobilized. They'll shut down accounts, destroy evidence, eliminate witnesses. We have a very narrow window. Then we don't waste it." Vincent pulled up a chair next to me. "What are we looking for specifically?" "Payment records. Morrison and Torres can't run this operation without money moving somewhere. Black budget accounts. Shell corporations. Offshore transfers. There has to be a paper trail." "There's always a paper trail," Marco said, fingers flying across the keyboard. "People think digital currency is untraceable. It's not. Everything leaves a footprint, if you know where to look." Sophia sat in the corner, headphones on, trying to pretend she wasn't in a warehouse with her criminal father and a fugitive federal agent planning to take down a corrupt government agency. She looked small, vulnerable. Everything I was fighting to protect. My encrypted phone buzzed. Unknown number, but the message made my stomach drop. "Agent Hayes. This is Rachel Oliver. They found me. I don't know how, but federal agents are outside my apartment right now. They're saying I'm harboring stolen classified information. They have a warrant. Jordan, I need help. Please." I showed Vincent the message. "It's not published yet," he said quietly. "If they stop her before it goes live, all of this was for nothing." "Where does she live?" "Upper West Side. 20 minutes from here in good traffic." "We don't have 20 minutes. They're probably already inside." Vincent was already moving, grabbing weapons, signaling his men. "Then we make 20 minutes work. Marco, keep digging. Find me something we can use. Sophia, you stay here. Don't open the door for anyone except us." "Dad, this is crazy. You can't fight federal agents." "Watch me." We took 2 vehicles. Fast cars, the kind Vincent kept for emergencies. I rode with him, checking my weapons, planning an approach that had maybe a 10% chance of working. "This is insane," I said. "We're going to get killed." "Probably. But that journalist is trying to tell the truth. Someone should protect people like that." "Since when do you care about journalists?" "Since one of them is trying to expose the people who threaten my daughter." He glanced at me. "And since I met someone who makes me want to be better than I am." The way he said it, quiet and honest, made something shift in my chest. This wasn't just about the mission anymore. Wasn't just about David or justice or revenge. Somewhere in the chaos of the last 2 days, Vincent Castellano had become someone I actually cared about. "Don't die," I said. "I'm just starting to like you." "Same." We reached Rachel's building in 15 minutes. 2 unmarked vehicles out front. 4 agents visible. Morrison's team, probably. The kind who didn't follow rules when rules got inconvenient. Side entrance, Vincent said. Service elevator. We go in quiet, extract the journalist, get out before they know we're there. And if they know we're there, then we go loud and hope we're faster. We moved through the building like ghosts. Years of different training, but somehow we worked together perfectly.
He watched left, I watched right.
He signaled I moved. It was like dancing with someone who knew all your steps. Rachel's apartment was on the 8th floor. We could hear voices through the door. Morrison's voice.
Cold.
Threatening. Ms. Oliver, you can make this easy or hard. Give us the files, and we'll forget this happened. Refuse and you'll be charged with espionage, theft of classified information, and conspiracy. Your career ends tonight either way. The question is whether you see tomorrow. I don't have any files. Rachel's voice shook but held firm. And even if I did, I'm a journalist. I have First Amendment protections. Not for stolen classified information, you don't. Last chance. Where are the files? Vincent looked at me. I looked at him. We both knew what we had to do. He kicked the door. Morrison spun. Gun coming up. 3 other agents moved fast. But we moved faster. I went low, took out the closest agent with a sweep that sent him crashing into Morrison. Vincent went high, disarming another agent with a move that looked almost elegant. 15 seconds of controlled chaos. Then we had Rachel, pulling her toward the door while Morrison screamed orders and agents scrambled for weapons. Go, go, go. Down the hall. Into the stairwell, because elevators were death traps. 8 flights at full speed with Rachel between us, and footsteps pounding above and below. We burst out into the lobby. More agents. Of course there were more agents. Torres stood by the front entrance, weapon drawn, smile cold. Going somewhere, Hayes? Through you if necessary. I don't think so. You're outnumbered. Outgunned. Cornered. This ends here. You, Castellano, and the journalist. All tied up in one convenient package. He wasn't wrong. 6 agents between us and the exit. More coming down the stairs behind us. The smart play was surrender. Negotiate. Hope for mercy. But I was done with smart plays. Rachel, I said quietly. When I say run, you run. Don't look back. Get to a public place. Finish your story. Publish everything. I can't leave you. You have to. This only matters if the truth gets out. Vincent understood. He always understood. On 3. 1. Torres raised his weapon. Don't do this, Hayes. 2. I will shoot you. I will shoot all of you. 3. I threw a flashbang I'd taken from the unconscious agent upstairs. The lobby exploded in light and sound. Rachel ran. Vincent and I provided cover, firing over heads, forcing agents to take cover rather than shoot. Rachel made it out the front door, made it to the street, disappeared into the evening crowd. We weren't so lucky. Torres recovered fast, tackled me from the side. We hit the marble floor hard. My gun skittered away. He was on top of me, hands around my throat. You could have been something, he said. You could have been great. But you had to develop a conscience. I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
Vision starting to tunnel. Then Torres jerked, fell sideways. Vincent stood over him, having hit him with something heavy. He pulled me up. We need to move. Now. But Morrison was there, blocking our exit, weapon pointed center mass at Vincent. End of the line, Castellano. Director Morrison. Always a pleasure. Where's the journalist?
Gone.
By now she's probably in a cab, heading somewhere you'll never find her. And in about 2 hours, her story goes live. Every newspaper, every news site, every senator's inbox. You lose. Morrison's finger tightened on the trigger. Maybe, but you don't get to see it. She fired. Vincent pushed me aside. Took the bullet meant for me. Went down hard. I screamed. Grabbed my gun from where it had fallen. Pointed it at Morrison. Jordan, don't. Morrison kept her weapon steady. Shoot me, And you're a cop killer. There's no coming back from that. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. Is that what David would have wanted? Don't you dare say his name. You killed him. I made a difficult operational decision. He was compromised. He was going to expose programs that keep this country safe. I did what I had to do. You murdered a good man because he had principles. I eliminated a liability. There's a difference. Vincent was bleeding on the floor, conscious but fading. He looked at me with something like sadness, like he knew how this ended. My finger was on the trigger. One squeeze. Morrison dead. Justice served. But then what?
Prison. Death.
Everything David and I had fought for, meaningless. I lowered my weapon. Smart girl, Morrison said. Now kick it over here. I did.
Good.
Now we're going to walk out of here. You, me, and Castellano. We're going to get him medical attention. And then we're going to have a long conversation about loyalty and consequences, and how this all gets resolved quietly. She wasn't going to get him medical attention. She was going to finish what she started. Kill Vincent, kill me, make it look like we killed each other.
Clean. Simple. No witnesses.
But before she could move, the lobby doors burst open. Federal agents. A lot of them. But not Morrison's people. The man in front was older, gray hair, distinguished. He had a tablet in his hand showing Rachel Oliver's article, already published, already viral. Director Morrison. I'm Director William Cross, Office of Professional Responsibility. You're under arrest for murder, conspiracy, corruption, and about 40 other charges. Drop your weapon. Morrison's face went white. This is a mistake. I was pursuing a legitimate investigation. The investigation is into you. And everyone else involved in asset conversion protocol. We've been building this case for 18 months. Agent Hayes's husband gave us the initial evidence. The journalist gave us the public attention. And now we have everything we need to clean house. Morrison looked at me. Really looked at me. And for just a second I saw fear. Then she raised her weapon toward Vincent. One last desperate attempt to eliminate a witness. I tackled her. We hit the ground. Her gun discharged into the ceiling. Agents swarmed in, pulling us apart, cuffing Morrison while she screamed about national security and operational necessity. I crawled to Vincent. He was pale, blood pooling underneath him. Stay with me. Ambulance is coming. You're going to be okay. Liar. He smiled weakly. But I appreciate the effort. You saved my life. You saved Sophia. We're even. The paramedics arrived. Loaded him onto a stretcher. I tried to follow, but Cross stopped me. Agent Hayes. We need to debrief you. There are questions. Procedures. That man just took a bullet for me. I'm going to the hospital. That man is a known criminal with multiple warrants. He's under arrest as soon as he's stable. He's also the only reason any of this came to light.
He helped me. Protected me.
Risked everything for the truth. And he'll get consideration for that. But he's still going to face justice for his crimes. I looked at Vincent being loaded into the ambulance. Looked at Cross and his clean operation and his proper procedures. Looked at the mess we'd made trying to do the right thing in a world where right and wrong had become so tangled. Then I guess we all face justice, I said. That's what this was supposed to be about anyway. The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and fear. I sat there for 4 hours while surgeons worked on Vincent, trying to repair the damage Morrison's bullet had done. Sophia arrived an hour in, escorted by 2 of Cross's agents. She looked terrified. Is he going to die? She asked me. I don't know. The bullet missed his heart, but hit his lung. They're doing everything they can. She sat next to me, this 17-year-old girl who'd done nothing wrong except have the wrong father. Are they going to arrest him? When he wakes up? I couldn't lie to her. Probably. Because of what he does. His business. Yes. But he was helping you. Helping expose bad people. Doesn't that count for something? It should. I'm going to make sure it does. Cross appeared in the doorway. Agent Hayes. We need to talk. I followed him to a private room where he laid out exactly how much trouble I was in. Destruction of federal property. assault on federal agents, conspiracy with a known criminal, unauthorized access to classified information. The list went on. However, Cross said, given the circumstances and the value of your testimony, we're prepared to offer immunity. Full immunity. You testify against Morrison, Torres, and everyone else involved. You help us dismantle asset conversion protocol. And you walk away clean. What about Vincent? What about him? He helped me.
Protected me.
Risked his life. He gets consideration too. He's a criminal, Hayes. He runs drugs, weapons, stolen goods through his network. We can't just ignore that because he helped you for 2 days. Can't you? You ignored it for 2 years while Morrison used him, extorted him, threatened his daughter. Where was justice then? Cross was quiet for a moment. I understand your anger. I understand your loyalty to him. But we can't set a precedent where criminals get immunity just because they helped us clean up our own mess. Then what can you do? Reduce charges. Cooperation credit. Witness protection for him and his daughter if he testifies about Morrison's operation. Prison time, but manageable. Maybe 5 years instead of 20. 5 years. Sophia would be 22 when he got out. Half her college years without her father. But it was better than life in prison. Better than death. I need to talk to him. He's in recovery. No visitors except immediate family. Make an exception. Cross studied me. You care about him. Actually care about him. Not just as an asset or an ally. You care. Is that relevant? It's concerning. He's a criminal, Hayes. Don't let 2 days of crisis bonding make you forget that. I'm not forgetting anything. I know exactly what he is. But I also know what Morrison is. What Torres is. What the agency became. Vincent never pretended to be something he wasn't. That counts for something. Cross sighed. 20 minutes. That's all I can give you. Vincent was awake when I entered his room. Pale, tubes running everywhere, but conscious. He tried to smile when he saw me. You look terrible, I said. You should see the other guy. Oh wait, you tackled her. Very impressive. I sat in the chair next to his bed. They're offering you a deal. Reduced charges. Witness protection for you and Sophia. 5 years prison time if you testify. And if I don't testify? 20 years minimum. Probably more. He closed his eyes. 5 years. Sophia would be 22. She'd be okay. I'd make sure of it. I'd check on her. Help her. Be whatever she needs. You do that? For a criminal's daughter? I'd do it for Sophia. Because she deserves better than what we've put her through. Vincent reached for my hand. Weak, but deliberate. Jordan, in 2 days you've turned my entire world upside down. You've made me question everything I thought I knew about right and wrong, good and bad. You've made me want to be better. Do better. Vincent, let me finish. Please. I'm not a good man. I've done terrible things for terrible reasons. But meeting you, fighting beside you, seeing your absolute commitment to truth even when it costs you everything, that's changed me. And I want you to know that whatever happens, however this ends, I'm grateful. For you. For this. For the chance to be part of something that actually matters. My throat was tight. You matter. You've always mattered. Not because of what you do or don't do. Because of who you are. A father who loves his daughter. A man who keeps his word. Someone who risked everything for the truth when he could have just walked away. I couldn't walk away. Not from you. The words hung between us, meaning everything and nothing. Because what future did we have? He was going to prison. I was going back to an agency that would never fully trust me again. We were from different worlds that had collided for a moment and would separate again. But for that moment, in that hospital room, none of that mattered. I leaned forward.
Kissed him.
Gentle, careful of his injuries, but real. He kissed back, his hand tightening on mine. When we broke apart, he was smiling. That's going to make the next 5 years very long. Then we'll write. Visit.
Wait.
I'm good at waiting. Are you? Because I remember you slapping me less than 48 hours after we met. You deserved it. I really did. The door opened. Cross, looking uncomfortable. "Time's up, Hayes. The U.S. attorney wants to start depositions. We have a lot of testimony to get through." I stood, but Vincent kept hold of my hand. "Promise me something. Promise me you'll take care of Sophia. Not because you have to, because you want to." "I promise. And promise me you won't forget this.
Us.
What we did. What we fought for." I couldn't forget if I tried. He let go. I walked out. The door closed behind me, and I realized that somewhere in the chaos of betrayal and conspiracy and violence, I'd fallen in love with a man I never should have trusted. A criminal who'd show me more honor than my own agency. A father who'd risked everything for his daughter and for the truth. David would have understood. Somehow, I knew he would have understood. The next 3 weeks were a blur. Depositions.
Testimony.
Press conferences. Rachel Oliver's article had exploded into a national scandal. Senators were calling for investigations. The president had ordered a complete review of federal law enforcement practices. Morrison, Torres, and 17 other agents were under arrest. And Vincent Castellano, known criminal, was being hailed as a reluctant hero who'd helped expose corruption at the highest levels. His sentencing hearing was scheduled for the end of the month. Cross told me to expect 5 years, possibly reduced to 3 with good behavior. Sophia would be okay. She had trust funds Vincent had set up years ago, untouchable by any legal proceedings. She had me, checking in daily, helping with college applications, being the stable adult presence she needed. But mostly, she had her father's courage, his strength, his ability to keep going even when everything seemed impossible. The night before the sentencing, I visited Vincent in the federal detention center. He looked better, healthier, the wound healing properly. "Tomorrow's the big day," he said. "You ready to see me in an orange jumpsuit? I've seen you in worse. Remember the hospital gown?" He laughed. "Fair point. Jordan, I need to tell you something. About what happens after. After the sentencing? After prison. I've been thinking a lot. About my life. My choices. What I want to do differently. You're going to go straight? Become a law-abiding citizen? I'm going to try. For Sophia. For myself. And maybe if you're still around in 3 to 5 years for you." My heart did something complicated. "Vincent, that's a long time. A lot can happen." "I know. I'm not asking you to wait. I'm not asking you for anything except this. When I get out, when I've paid my debt and rebuilt my life, can I call you? Can we see if whatever this is might become something more?" I should have said no. Should have been practical. Professional. Should have remembered that he was a criminal and I was a federal agent, and mixing those worlds only led to disaster. But I'd spent 3 years being practical. 3 years following rules that turned out to be lies. 3 years doing what I was supposed to do instead of what I wanted to do. "Yes," I said. "When you get out, you can call me. And we'll see." He smiled. Really smiled. The kind of smile that made me understand why people followed him, trusted him, believed in him despite everything. That's all I needed to hear. The federal courthouse was packed. Media everywhere. Protesters holding signs. Some called Vincent a hero. Some called him a criminal who got off too easy. Everyone had an opinion. I sat in the front row with Sophia. Cross sat behind us, representing the government. Rachel Oliver was there too, covering the story that had become her career-defining moment. The judge entered. Judge Catherine Morrison, no relation to Director Patricia Morrison. That was one small mercy. "Mr. Castellano," the judge said, "you've been charged with multiple counts of racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy. However, in light of your cooperation with federal authorities and your instrumental role in exposing corruption within law enforcement, the prosecution has recommended a reduced sentence. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Do you wish to make a statement before sentencing?" Vincent stood. He'd refused a lawyer, insisting he speak for himself. Sophia grabbed my hand. "Your Honor, I'm not going to stand here and pretend I'm innocent. I've broken laws. I've hurt people. I've built a business on things that cause real harm to real communities. I can't take any of that back. But I can acknowledge it. I can commit to doing better. And I can thank the people who showed me that there's a difference between power and honor. He looked at me. 3 weeks ago, a federal agent slapped me in a restaurant. Best thing that ever happened to me. Because she showed me what real courage looks like. What real integrity costs. And she made me want to be someone my daughter could actually be proud of. Not just fear. Not just obey. But actually respect. The courtroom was silent. I'll serve whatever time you decide I deserve, Your Honor. And when I get out, I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure my daughter grows up in a world where the people with power actually deserve it. Where law enforcement means something. Where justice isn't just a word we use to justify corruption. He sat down. Sophia was crying.
So was I.
Judge Morrison took a long moment before speaking. Mr. Castellano, I've reviewed the evidence. I've read the testimony. I've considered the arguments from both sides. The law requires accountability for your crimes. But the law also recognizes extraordinary cooperation and genuine contrition.
She paused.
Papers rustled. I'm sentencing you to 3 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. During that time, you will divest from all criminal enterprises. You will cooperate fully with ongoing investigations. And you will submit to regular monitoring to ensure compliance. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
3 years. Not 5.
Not 20. 3 years and then a chance at a real life. Sophia hugged me, sobbing with relief. Cross looked satisfied. The gallery erupted in conversation. But then the courtroom doors opened. 6 federal marshals entered, weapons drawn. Behind them, someone I never expected to see again. Patricia Morrison. In handcuffs, but flanked by lawyers who looked expensive and dangerous. Your Honor, one of the lawyers said, I apologize for the interruption. But we have new evidence that directly impacts this case. Evidence that proves Vincent Castellano was not just cooperating with corrupt agents, but was actively running his own operation to destabilize federal law enforcement. Evidence that proves he manipulated Agent Hayes to serve his own criminal enterprise. My blood went cold. That's not true. We have recordings, Your Honor. Conversations between Mr. Castellano and his associates. Plans to use Agent Hayes' investigation to eliminate his competition while appearing to cooperate. Plans to profit from the chaos caused by exposing Morrison's network. Morrison smiled at me from across the courtroom. Cold. Triumphant. Did you really think I wouldn't have contingencies, Agent Hayes? Did you really think I'd just accept defeat? The judge looked troubled. These are serious allegations. Do you have this evidence with you? We do, Your Honor. The lawyer handed over a tablet. Recordings made by Director Morrison as insurance. Dated from the night Mr. Castellano and Agent Hayes first made contact. Vincent's face had gone pale. He looked at me. Jordan, I don't know what's on those recordings, but whatever it is, it's not the truth. You have to believe me. I wanted to believe him. But I'd been fooled before. I'd trusted people who lied. And Morrison had survived in her position by being smarter than everyone else. The judge listened to the recording. Her expression darkened. Mr. Castellano, is this your voice on this recording? I don't know, Your Honor. I'd need to hear it. She played it for the courtroom. Vincent's voice, clear and distinct, talking to someone about using the federal agent to eliminate competition. About how the exposure of Morrison's network would create a power vacuum he could exploit. About how gullible I was, how easy to manipulate. It sounded exactly like him. Every inflection, every speech pattern.
Perfect.
Too perfect. I stood up. Your Honor, that recording is fake. It's AI generated. Voice cloning technology that Morrison's people have access to. That's a serious accusation, Agent Hayes. It's the truth. Morrison has been using advanced surveillance technology for years. She has recordings of everyone. She could easily generate fake audio that sounds authentic. Morrison's lawyer smiled. Do you have proof of that, Agent Hayes? Or are you simply desperate to protect the man you've clearly developed inappropriate feelings for? I have proof. I pulled out my phone, accessed the encrypted files I'd been keeping. Morrison's program included contracts with tech companies developing voice synthesis software. I have invoices, communication logs, everything showing she had the capability and the motive to create fake evidence. I handed my phone to the judge. She reviewed it carefully. Your Honor, Morrison's lawyer said, Agent Hayes is clearly biased. She's romantically involved with the defendant. Her evidence is tainted. Actually, Cross stood up. Agent Hayes's evidence has been independently verified by our technical team. The recordings are indeed fabricated. Director Morrison attempted to create insurance by manufacturing evidence against Mr. Castellano and Agent Hayes. But the metadata doesn't match. The audio compression is inconsistent with the alleged recording date. It's sophisticated, but it's fake. Morrison's smile disappeared. This is ridiculous. You're going to believe a criminal over a decorated agent. I'm going to believe evidence over lies, Cross said. Director Morrison, you're already facing multiple charges. Adding attempted obstruction of justice to that list isn't going to help you. The judge looked at Morrison, at Vincent, at me. This case has been a disaster from start to finish. But I'm not going to let manufactured evidence corrupt these proceedings. The recordings are inadmissible. My sentencing stands. 3 years, Mr. Castellano. Marshal, remove Director Morrison from my courtroom. Morrison was dragged out, screaming about conspiracies and injustice and how we'd all pay for this. Her voice echoed down the hallway until it finally faded. Vincent exhaled. Sophia sobbed with relief. I sat down, shaking. Agent Hayes, the judge said quietly, your dedication to the truth is admirable, but I strongly suggest you maintain professional boundaries going forward. Mixing personal feelings with cases rarely ends well. Yes, Your Honor. And, Mr. Castellano, don't make me regret this leniency. Use these 3 years to become the man your daughter deserves. The man Agent Hayes apparently sees in you. I will, Your Honor. I promise. Court adjourned. Vincent was taken into custody, but not before he had a moment with Sophia. He hugged her, whispered something I couldn't hear, kissed her forehead. Then he looked at me. 3 years. I can do 3 years. I'll be here when you get out. You better be. They led him away. Sophia and I walked out of the courthouse together, into the afternoon sunlight, into a world that suddenly felt cleaner, lighter, more honest. Rachel Oliver approached us. Agent Hayes, can I ask you a few questions? Later, Rachel. Right now I need to make sure this young woman gets home safely. Of course. But Jordan, thank you for everything. This story, this investigation, it's going to change things. Real change. Because of what you did. What we all did. You.
Me.
Vincent. Cross. Even David. From beyond the grave. It took all of us. She nodded and walked away. Sophia and I found my car, drove through the city in comfortable silence. Are you really going to wait for him? Sophia asked finally. 3 years is a long time. I've waited 3 years for the truth about what happened to my husband. I think I can wait 3 more for something that might actually be real. He really cares about you. I can tell. I've never seen him like that with anyone. Not since my mom. I care about him too. More than I should. More than makes sense. Love doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be true. Smart kid. Her father had raised her well. I dropped her at the apartment Cross had arranged for her. Safe. Secure. With people watching who actually had her best interests in mind. Then I drove to the cemetery, where David was buried. I hadn't been there in months. Couldn't face it. But now I could. I sat by his grave and told him everything. About the investigation. About Vincent. About Morrison and the corruption, and how his death had actually meant something. About how I'd finally finished what he started. I met someone, I said to the headstone. I didn't mean to. Didn't plan for it. But he's good, David. In ways that surprise me. In ways that make me believe people can change. I think you'd like him. I think you'd understand why I'm going to wait for him. The wind picked up, rustling leaves across the grass. I could almost imagine it was David, giving me his blessing, telling me to live, to love, to stop carrying guilt for his death, and start building a life he'd want me to have. I love you, I said. I always will. But I'm ready to love someone else too. I hope that's okay. The sun set behind the trees, painting everything gold. I stood up, brushed off my pants, and walked back to my car. 3 years. I could wait 3 years. I'd already waited a lifetime to feel alive again. 3 years went faster than I expected and slower than I could stand. I went back to work, but not with the same agency. Cross offered me a position with the Office of Professional Responsibility, investigating corruption within federal law enforcement, using my skills to make sure what happened with Morrison never happened again. It felt right. It felt like finishing what David started. Sophia went to college, Columbia, studying criminal justice. She said she wanted to understand the system her father had spent his life avoiding. I visited her every month. We had dinner, talked about school, about her life, about the future. She never asked about Vincent directly, but I knew she was counting down the days same as me. I visited Vincent in prison every 2 weeks. Regulations allowed 90-minute visits. We talked about everything. About his plans for when he got out. About the legitimate businesses he was setting up. About Sophia's grades and my cases, and the weather, and stupid mundane things that felt important because we were sharing them. I'm learning Spanish, he told me during one visit. Figure it can't hurt to actually understand half the conversations happening in my old neighborhoods. Planning to move back there? Planning to help there. Community center maybe. Job training programs. Ways to give kids options I never had. He smiled. Turns out you can use business skills for legal things. Who knew? I'm proud of you. I haven't done anything yet. You've stayed clean. Stayed focused. That's everything. The visits sustained me. Letters sustained me. The knowledge that we were both waiting for the same future. Rachel Oliver won a Pulitzer for her investigation. Cross got promoted to deputy director. Morrison got 25 years in federal prison. Torres got 18. 32 other agents were indicted, convicted, sentenced. The entire asset conversion protocol was dismantled. David's name was cleared. His record restored. They put his name on a memorial at headquarters, recognizing agents who died exposing corruption. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. And then, finally, the 3 years ended. I picked up Vincent from the federal prison in Pennsylvania on a Tuesday morning in March. He walked out in regular clothes, carrying a single bag with everything he owned in the world. He looked older, harder, but also somehow lighter. Hey, stranger, I said. Hey yourself. You waited. I told you I would. People say a lot of things. Doesn't mean they follow through. I'm not most people. No, you're really not. We drove back to the city in comfortable silence. 3 years of conversations through prison phones and written letters had taught us how to be quiet together. How to just exist in each other's space. Sophia met us at the apartment I'd helped her set up. A real apartment now, not the safe house Cross had arranged. She'd graduated college a year early, already working at a non-profit legal clinic helping people who couldn't afford lawyers. When she saw Vincent, she ran to him. Hugged him like she was 8 years old again, instead of 20. I missed you, Dad. I missed you too, baby. Every single day. They held each other for a long time. I gave them space, made coffee I didn't drink, pretended not to cry. Later, after Sophia went to work, Vincent and I sat on her balcony, overlooking the city. The same city we'd spent 3 weeks running through, fighting in, nearly dying for. So, he said, 3 years. You dated anyone else? A few casual things. Nothing serious. You? Prison dating scene isn't great. All the best people are unavailable. I laughed. What now? What do you want to do? Honestly, I want to take you to dinner. Somewhere nice. Somewhere without bulletproof glass between us. I want to have a normal conversation like normal people. Then maybe see if this thing we've been building actually works in the real world. And if it doesn't, then at least we tried. At least we gave it a real shot instead of spending the rest of our lives wondering what if. He was right. We'd fought for the truth, fought for justice, survived corruption and betrayal and violence. We deserved to fight for something that made us happy. Okay, I said. Take me to dinner. Show me what normal looks like for us. That night, he took me to a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn. Not Romano's. Somewhere new. Somewhere without history or memories or ghosts. We talked for hours. About his plans for the community center. About my cases at OPR. About Sophia's work. About the future we might build together. I love you, he said as we walked home through streets that felt safe for the first time in years. I've loved you since you slapped me in that restaurant. I just didn't know it yet. I love you too, even though you're complicated and difficult and come with more baggage than an airport.
Same.
You come with your own issues. Dead husband. Career that involves arresting people like me. Trust issues for days. We're a mess. We really are. Want to be a mess together? I kissed him under a streetlight. 3 years of waiting finally, ending in something that felt like beginning.
Yes.
Let's be a mess together. 6 months later, Vincent opened the Castellano Community Center in the neighborhood where he'd grown up. Job training, after-school programs, services for families who needed help, all funded by the legitimate businesses he'd built, all operated with complete transparency. Sophia worked there part-time, providing legal advice to community members who didn't know their rights. I visited when I could, between cases and investigations, and the ongoing work of cleaning up federal law enforcement. And sometimes, late at night in the apartment Vincent and I now shared, I thought about David. About how he'd started this whole thing by asking questions nobody wanted to answer. About how his death had led to Morrison's downfall and Vincent's redemption, and my own transformation. You did good, I whispered to his memory. We did good. The photo of David stayed on my nightstand. Vincent never asked me to remove it. He understood that you can love someone who's gone and someone who's here at the same time. That the heart is big enough for both. A year after Vincent got out, Rachel Oliver published her second book, The Cost of Truth, inside the federal corruption scandal that changed everything. Vincent and I were in it. So was David. So was Sophia and Cross, and everyone who'd fought to expose what was hidden. You're famous, I told Vincent at the book launch party.
I'm reformed.
There's a difference. Are you? Reformed?
He thought about it.
I'm trying. Every day I'm trying to be better than I was. That's all anyone can do. He wasn't perfect. He still had contacts in his old world. He still knew things he probably shouldn't. But he used that knowledge to help, not hurt. To protect, not exploit. And maybe that was enough. Maybe reformation wasn't about becoming someone completely different. Maybe it was about taking who you were and pointing it in a better direction. 2 years after prison, Vincent proposed. Not with a dramatic gesture or public display. Just the two of us in our apartment, cooking dinner together, being normal. Marry me, he said, stirring pasta sauce like it was the most casual thing in the world. That's your proposal? While making spaghetti? I could get down on one knee if you want. But I feel like we're past grand gestures. We've already done the dramatic stuff. Fighting corruption. Exposing criminals. Nearly dying multiple times. Marriage seems like the easy part. He had a point. Yes, I said. I'll marry you. But we're having a small wedding. No drama.
No danger.
Just people who love us celebrating something good. Deal. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the community center. Sophia was maid of honor. Cross walked me down the aisle because he was the closest thing to family I had left. Rachel Oliver caught the bouquet, which made everyone laugh. And I swore I felt David there, approving, happy that I'd found my way to something good after so much pain. The reception was simple. Food from the neighborhood. Music from local kids. Dancing in a room full of people who'd survived their own struggles and understood that happiness was something you fought for, not something you were given. So, Vincent said as we danced, what now? Where do we go from here? Wherever we want. No agency telling me what to do. No criminal empire pulling you in wrong directions. Just us, making choices that matter. I like the sound of that. Me too. And somewhere in the city, in offices and courtrooms and community centers and homes, the work continued. People fighting corruption. People seeking justice. People trying to make the world a little better than they found it.
We were part of that now.
Not heroes. Not villains. Just two people who'd found each other in the chaos and decided to build something that lasted. Hey, Vincent said, pulling me closer as the song changed to something slow and perfect. Thank you. For what? For slapping me. For fighting beside me.
For waiting for me.
For loving me even when I didn't deserve it. For giving me a reason to be better. You gave me those things too. A reason to keep fighting after David died. A reason to believe people can change. A reason to trust again. We're good together. We really are. The music played. The city lived. And two people who'd started as enemies finished as partners, building a life from the ruins of everything they'd lost. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real.
And real was enough.
So hey, wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing, I hope this story reminded you that truth matters. That people can change. That love shows up in unexpected places. That fighting for what's right is worth the cost. If you enjoyed this journey, if it made you feel something, do me a favor. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's struggling with their own corrupt systems. Someone who's waiting for something good. Someone who needs to believe that endings can be happy even when the middle is hell. Drop a comment and tell me your thoughts. Like this if it moved you. Subscribe if you want more stories about people who fight for truth in a world full of lies. And remember, sometimes the people we're told to hate are the ones who save us. Sometimes the ones we're told to trust are the real villains. Sometimes justice looks different than we expected. Sometimes a slap in the face is the beginning of everything good. My name is Jordan Hayes Castellano, and this is the story of how I went from being a broken agent serving corruption to being a whole person fighting for truth. From believing I knew what justice looked like to learning that it's complicated and messy and worth fighting for anyway. From losing everything to finding something better than I ever imagined. 3 years ago, a man threw champagne in my friend's face and I slapped him. Best decision I ever made.